Hi, and welcome to Sega News Bits. I'm Barry, with me is George.
Hello, everybody.
And I'm going to do my Sonic voice because that's a terrible one. We're going to be talking about Sonic Team's Takashi Iizuka, who wants to do a Sonic Adventure remake. And this is a story that hit, I believe, just at the end of the year. The Retro Gamer magazine released that covered a look back at Sonic Adventure, and they interviewed people who worked on the game, including, here we go, Kazuyuki Hoshino and Takashi Iizuka. And what was interesting was they were asked about what they would want to do if they were to continue this game. I'll read the quote. So what he said was, "It was the first high-speed 3D action game that also featured scenario highlighted with 6 different stories. The A-Life Chow, 6 unique styles of gameplay. It is a unique offering even 20 years after its release. However, it was the very first 3D game that we worked on, and looking at it now, I can see the rough edges it has, which really makes me want to remake it again." So we're going to be talking about, should they remake it? What would we expect from it? And what are the alternatives to remaking it? So first off, George, do you think they should remake it?
This is going to be kind of weird, but I've said it before, I think it is a good idea because there's been a market for Sonic Adventure, right, on the internet, and it's kind of hard to know what's real on the internet and what's fake on the internet. There's a lot of, I guess I could say, liars on the internet, right, where they assume that there's a bigger fan base for a franchise than there really is. I think the only way to really do this is to give making a remake a shot, and I think Sega right now has a really good engine that's finally running at 60 frames per second. It's smooth. We could hate Sonic Forces all we want, but the engine they created for it runs really smooth, and I think this is a good stopgap to their next game where they can't do any wrong, right? If they treat this game correctly and remake it and kind of keep the physics but fix some of the issues with it and make it feel smoother. What do you think, Barry?
It's a tricky one because on one hand, I would love to see them remake this, but on the other hand, I would want to see them remake it to the point where it felt like a whole new experience, and then by that point, shouldn't they just make a new game? And that's where I have this disagreement with myself. Looking at our news post, it looks like you used a piece of cool fan art that kind of remakes the ending card for Sonic's story in the game. And it not only is nostalgic to me, but also I feel like, you brought up Sonic Forces. You look at Sonic Forces, it kicks off with Sonic getting his ass kicked and going to jail, and everything's on fire. You look at this, and it's like Sonic chilling out at a resort, and it's got palm trees and blue skies. It's just beautiful to look at, and I feel like if they were to remake this game, but use all new cutscenes, use the current voice actors, maybe even do an actual director's cut where we get new scenes, new stages, and maybe even treat all the existing stages kind of like Generations, where it's a complete remix, where it's expanded. Maybe ideas they never were able to get pulled off. I feel like that tornado in Windy Valley could really go crazy.
Oh, yeah.
That I'd love to see that.
I would say one thing, are we going to continue the Sonic Adventure gameplay? There's 6 gameplays, right? I would love to see an actual really fun fishing game for Big the Cat. Just rethought treasure hunting with Knuckles. They could do so much right there. And one of my issues with Sonic Team is that, like you said, I would love to see them rethink the story, but at the same time, I'm a little scared because, they don't have the best writing in the world. They still don't have the best writing even back then or now. So I'm a little hesitant on that. But what do you think about the gameplay? Boost or stick with the Adventure Sonic?
I'd say stick with the Adventure Sonic. I can't see them remaking the game with Boost without completely changing the way the stages are laid out. You look at Unleashed and the Forces games, and it's really there's an area you play in, and then it's a long gap of just boosting, and then an area you play in. But in Sonic Adventure, it's really much more like the classic maps turned into 3D, because I can't think of any spaces in Sonic Adventure where I'm I don't know, I was boosting. It was just a long 100 miles of nothing,
Well, Adventure has its own little thing, right? It's the bumper pads, right? They were the meme,
That's
right? Your Sonic Adventure, if your Sonic team just put bumper pads everywhere and you just designed yourself a level. That was the criticism back then. Now it's just boost everything. They just made it a move. But yeah, like if this does well, we might even get a follow-up and maybe leave the Generations formula. Talk about the other quote we're going to talk about, the third one.
Right, yeah. And so Hoshino, if this is the quote you're talking about, he says,
yeah,
the story. So he talks about 20 years on. I'll read a bit of the article here. So 20 years on, plenty of fans still have fond memories of Sonic Adventure. But what do the creators think of people, that keeps people coming back? If I think of what the appeal of the title is, as a fan myself, I would have to say it's because of each of the characters having a deep story, says Hoshino. The story continues still to this day and seems to be expanding instead of coming to an end. For example, one could probably still think, I bet Big is probably fishing right now. In addition, I'm sure there is also the expectation that someday in the future we would make a sequel or continuation in the series. And so that's kind of an argument against it.
Yeah. What were you gonna say about it already having a sequel?
The thing is that story-wise, if we were to make a Sonic Adventure 3, it wouldn't really make sense because we've already had Heroes, Shadow, and what else came out? Even Sonic 06 kind of carried that story on. And I know we've had Sonic 4 and we've had Sonic Mania. That was more bringing back a gameplay style that hasn't existed on home consoles since 1995, 96. And here...
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, you look at Sonic Adventure, and like you've told me before, Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2 don't compare to each other. They're very different games. And you could look at Sonic Unleashed, you could look at Sonic 06 and say those games are actually a lot more Sonic Adventure-y than, Sonic Adventure 2 was. And I guess you just, the story has continued to this day. And so to tell us what happens after Sonic Adventure 2 doesn't really make sense because...
We know.
Yeah, like, if that's the... Yeah, we know. So instead... If you really want to bring back the adventure formula, make a game that takes place after Forces, and which is kind of a clean break as it is. Like the end of that story was just kind of like everything's better, and bring back the gameplay styles, I guess. Another problem is if you remake Sonic Adventure, you also start to remake the flaws and the things that people didn't like. And like you said, they could make Big better.
Why would they?
But would they cut Big out of the game? Yeah, would they cut him out of the game? That's a good question. Would you cut him?
I mean, if you're going to be 100% accurate to it, I would like them to come and rethink Big. Like if they want to add platforming and actually fix it up and actually make it feel good and fun and give it more objectives and rethink everything from the ground up, I would be okay with that. Even if it's not as great as we want it to be, I want to see their vision on a remake. Go 100% in. The one that came out on the GameCube, I think they consider a remake. I don't know if I would myself, but it's basically just a port of the game with retextured. So, and it was worse, in my opinion, the GameCube one. Sorry, don't hate me. I know there's fans on GameCube. But it was worse. I mean, I love the look of the Dreamcast one without the shine. But would you want the shine or no shine?
Shine optional. There's a selection in the menu.
Just for us, right? Shine or no shine. I'm like, how am I feeling today? But anyway.
Yeah.
That's our story for Sonic Adventure. What do you think about a remake? Would you want to see Sonic Team go back to this classic and give you another shot at going and playing Chalice for hours and hours and hours?
And hours.
Let us know in the comments below.
And